So I wanted to talk about whether the legislature can be recalled from an interim or joint recess. And the answer actually is yes. Pursuant to Joint Rule 52, the California legislature could return to the state capitol and reconvene a session prior to it adjourning sine die on November 30th of the even numbered year. Joint Rule 52 concerns recall from recess, and it establishes three methods for recalling the legislature from its joint or interim recess. Now, the fourth way, of course, is for a governor to call a special session, which would require the legislature to be recalled from recess. Joint Rule 52 provides that the legislature may be recalled from joint recess and reconvene in regular session by one of three specified means. The first is by a joint proclamation. The joint proclamation is issued by the Senate President Pro Tem and the Assembly Speaker, and that joint proclamation must be entered in the Senate Daily Journal and the Assembly Daily Journal. And the proclamation would specify when the legislature is to reconvene and for what purpose the two houses are reconvening. The second method is when 10 or more members of the legislature present a request for recall from joint recess. The request is presented to the Assembly Chief Clerk and the Senate Secretary. Thereafter, the request is immediately printed in the Assembly Daily Journal and the Senate Daily Journal. Within 10 days of that request being printed, then the Assembly Speaker and Senate President Pro Tem are required to act upon the request. Now, if the two legislative leaders agree to recall the legislature from their joint recess, then the two legislative leaders must issue a joint proclamation entering it in the Assembly Daily Journal and the Senate Daily Journal no later than 20 days after publication of that original request. Now, the third and final method of recall is when either or both of the two legislative leaders do not agree to recall the legislature from a joint recess. In that case, 10 or more members of the legislature may request the Assembly Chief Clerk and the Senate Secretary to petition the members of their respective houses. And that petition is required to be entered, of course, in the Assembly Daily Journal and the Senate Daily Journal. And the petition is required to contain a specified reconvening date, commencing no later than 20 days after the date of the petition. If 2/3 of the members of each house concur, then the legislature is required to reconvene on the date specified. And the necessary concurrences must be received at least 10 days prior to the date specified in the petition for reconvening.